you could have walked in and cried because we were that close to not being here. Literally, probably 12 hours. I left on the Tuesday at 5 o'clock, thinking I'd never step foot in this building again, and then 9 a.m. the next morning, it's celebrations. Really, it's
Yeah,
yeah, which nearly didn't happen. Another a parallel universe. We've lost the club. Simple
yeah.
as.
It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Scunthorpe United himself, James Moody, to the From the Club podcast. Thanks so much for taking the time, James.
No problem at all.
James, tell us everything we need to know about you in 60 seconds.
I think I need longer than 60 seconds. Scunny born and bred, massive supporter of the club, privileged to work for the club as well. Been here 14 years. Probably done near enough every role apart from first team manager. Currently, general manager of the club. Been in the position for 3 months. Yeah, live and breathe football. I'm a referee, which I'm sure you'll come on to as well. But yeah, my life from waking up in the morning to going to sleep in the morning. I say in the morning because I don't go to sleep until probably 2 or 3 a.m. the next day. But is football from start to finish.
Yeah. I know 14 years ago was a long time ago, James, but how did you first get involved with the club?
Um, Probably a little bit further back than that, to be fair. I mean, I'm 30 now, nearly 31. And I got involved when I was 13, really. I entered a competition, a national competition, match report writing. So I've always been into English, I've always been into writing. My dad's always encouraged me to document what I do. So when I used to play for the school team, he'd like write a match report, so you remember it, look back at it in 30 years' time or whatever. So I did that. And I won the club level. So the club did it first, and I won the club level and got a match day experience as media and got to sit and see how things worked and things like that, which was really good as a 13-year-old. And then it got to a national stage. And it was a guy called Tony Layton, editor of The Guardian at the time, that judged it and judged that I was the winner of League One. So there were three winners: Championship, League One, League Two. I was the national winner of League One, and then the overall winner of all three. So I got to go to Wembley in 2009, full behind the scenes tour for a playoff final, League One playoff final, which just so happened to be Scunny v Millwall. So
Yeah.
it could have been anybody because I was going anyway. But it just happened to be Scunny v Millwall. So that was the start of my media life, and then from there I just got invited here, and I've never left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, apart from playing in the first team, you've pretty much done every other job at the club. Talk us through your career over those 14 years, including your most recent promotion 3 months ago to general manager.
Yeah, so when I came in, I think they wanted me in. I worked at Tesco at the time as a part-time 16-year-old, and they wanted me in, but probably didn't have a role available. So I think what they did is they saw I come in and volunteered for 18 months and didn't get paid, and they obviously felt I was worthy of something. So I got offered like an administration assistant role, just to get my foot in the door. And that molded really into a media assistant. And then they go a little bit more. Can you be media and marketing? We'll stick an executive title on the end of it to make it sound a bit fancy. And then member of staff would leave and they'd go, can you pick up that? So I took on head of ticketing, and then another one would leave and I took on head of retail. And then the media manager left, so I took on head of media, took on player liaison, supporter liaison officer, PA announcer left, so I took on that. We got a new digital scoreboard, so I took on that. And then all come to a point, October 25, and the board, the chief executive stood down, and the board summoned me and said, "Would you fancy being general manager?" And they said, "You pretty much are anyway. You do every role, or you're aware of every role. You're across all the other staff, so you may as well actually formally be that." And it's been a whirlwind 14 years. We've had ups and a lot of downs as well, and a lot of turmoil. But I always sit here in the bad times and think, where else would I rather be? And
Yeah.
no disrespect, but sitting behind a till at Tesco is not where I wanted to be forever. So
Yeah. I mean, with all of the different plates you're spinning, this might be a tricky question to ask. But what does a typical day look like for you, James?
Um, I think the cliche is no 2 days the same. But fundamentally, when the season's going on, it's the general operation of the football club, whether that's overseeing tickets and the retail to make sure we get them departments right, the wages, make sure they're all submitted and ready to go at the end of the month, preparing for the match days. I think working in a football club, your fundamentals are making sure that everything's there for the players and staff to not give them any excuses to not get 3 points on a Saturday.
Yeah,
And
right.
I know it's a great team we've got, um, but I know footballers so well, being in the industry for 14 years, that you give them one sniff of an excuse, and if they lose on Saturday, that'll be what
Yeah,
they run with.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
hotel bookings and meals and making sure they're on time and dinner and everything falls under everyone's remit at the club. So it's just manic, but it works and it falls into place. Probably organized chaos.
yeah.
We know what we're doing, but if anyone else was to walk in, they'd probably go, "Oh my God."
With that kind of culture and with how busy you are, what are some of the greatest challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis?
Um, I think the challenges probably shift from role to role. So my current challenge is really to get this club sustainable
Yeah,
over the next 6, 12 months in particular. And that's a challenge in itself because success comes with stretching the budget. Obviously, the manager wants to try and get promoted to the Football League, and we're in with a real shout. They've done an exceptional job, but with that
yeah,
means, can I have this player? This player will get us over the line, and suddenly you're spending more money. Take, for example, overnight stays. They're not cheap on the club, and we never really intended to go overnight to Boreham Wood for a Tuesday night fixture, but just because of how well we're doing and the fact it was fourth versus sixth, we took the decision to go overnight to give the lads the best preparation. And that's an extra burden on the club. It's extra
yeah,
things that we haven't budgeted for, so it's difficult. But we've got a great board, and they understand that success comes at a cost, and ultimately we've got to give it a go because next season we don't go up. You could be 15th, you could be 20th.
yeah,
Football is so unpredictable. So you've got to live with the here and now. And that's probably the biggest challenge. You've got to always be, ready to be proactive, but be reactive to the situation you're in.
yeah. I mean, you talk about making the club sustainable. I mean, we live in a generation and in a situation where so few clubs do actually make a profit in the modern game, and then end up relying heavily on the financial support of owners and investors. As someone with years of experience in trying to make Scunthorpe United sustainable, how hard is it, James, and how achievable is it?
Um, it's hard. It's achievable. But it's how far you go because if you want that success, sometimes you do have to stretch it. And then I mean, we're a very good community club. We've got four local owners who love the club, who love
Yeah,
the business area, and they've tapped into a lot of people in the area. Can you just, would you mind supporting us here? Things like that. We've got, people that I take that overnight stay that they could pick up a phone and go, we value 3 points that much. We want to go overnight. Is there anything you can do? Can you sponsor it? We'll give
yeah,
you, boardroom access as a thank you, stuff like that. It's difficult because the the income on tickets, as much as it's a massive help, and getting 4 or 5 thousand through the gate is absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't cut it in terms of making you anywhere near sustainable. Your commercial side of it is a massive help, but it doesn't make you anywhere near sustainable. So it's about pulling it together. And I don't want to raise prices. I mean, I think if you look at our prices, they're the same as what they were when we were in, or if not cheaper than when we were in League Two, League One. Obviously we've dropped down, but they're cheaper. I think the adult season ticket price, 295 at early bird, is as cheap as it's been for the last 25 years. And,
yeah,
and I know that comes at a level, but we have to try and bridge a gap of what we're losing every year. The owners have got pockets, but I know
yeah,
Roger, one of the owners, says to me they've got pockets, but they're not endlessly deep.
yeah,
We've been in a fortunate situation before where an owner has wanted to chuck millions at it, but we're not in that position anymore. So, any increases are strategic to not be detrimental towards the supporters too much, but we always are transparent in saying that this is what we have to do to try and bridge that gap.
Yeah. This year we saw the Zone come on board, taking on the TV rights. Do things like that have a tangible sort of benefit to a club like Scunthorpe United, or is it just business as usual?
Yeah, they do to an extent. I mean, when we were in step two in the National North, we were probably the only team that, or only one or two teams, or two or three teams that were chosen week in, week out for midweek games. And that's because it was financially beneficial to them, which
Yeah,
then saw us get a return. Some other clubs were never on because, no disrespect, they've got 200 fans in the stadium, so they ain't got
yeah,
400 fans at home wanting to watch it. But we were in a fortunate position where we did make a little bit. And then at this level, you get a fee for hosting a game when it's a 12:30 or a 5:30 on a Saturday, and you get a smaller fee if you're an away team. And I think the response to that is, well, what does it do to your ticket sales? And I
yeah,
think at some points in the season when it's the wrong time for your club, then the X amount that you make, you lose on the gate because I think I would stay at home. But we were just on Saturday against Forest Green, the 5:30, and we had 5,200 fans here, plus the fee that you get from the zone. So actually, because it was such a big game and it fell nicely, you do see the benefit, but sometimes you do lose out. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, really.
yeah, yeah. I wonder if you have to pinch yourself sometimes, James, because I mean, from being, such a passionate fan, you're in this dream role now where often the players are going to be becoming your friends. Tell us about that, James.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had my heroes growing up. As a fan, as a young boy in the stands. And funnily enough, one of my heroes was Paul Musselwhite. I was a goalkeeper growing up.
Right, yeah,
Now Muzzy's our goalkeeper coach. So imagine that as a 10-year-old boy thinking, I idolized the lad that's in between the sticks, and now for the last, yeah, literally 14 years, I've worked with him.
yeah,
So. That's just one that you could take out. Obviously, the gaffer Andy was playing in that team the very first time I came and watched a game in 2004, and now he's the manager. Um, Assistant John Schofield, I worked with 10 years prior. So in 2014, he was Russ Wilcox's assistant, and I only worked with him for a couple of months before he got the bullet, as
yeah,
inevitably football happens. But then this time, it's just been another level.
yeah,
Um, you work with so many people, players, that have gone on to play for England. I've got, Ivan Toney, if you take that one, or Ryan Yates at Nottingham Forest, players that have gone on to be something and make something of the career. Hayden Hackney at Middlesbrough, Regan Slater at Hull. These are friends. These are more than just footballers out there. You spend obviously, general work in life, you spend more time at work than you do at home. They
yeah,
become family, and you see them every day for X amount of hours a day, and it's weird when they move on. It's like one
yeah,
big group, and I think I say this to Jake, my media assistant. He's 18 now, but he's been here for 3 years, and I said the worst thing you'll experience is the end of the season when that team is ripped apart because you may never see these people again. You've seen them every day for whatever amount of time, and you may never see them again. And that's just the reality of football, and it's sad.
yeah. Now that's such an interesting insight, and I'm sure the fans would be, you know, so excited to be in an opportunity where they're in a role like that as well, James. So it's definitely a blessing for you, isn't it? Because of how well things are going now, it would be easy to forget just how bad things were a couple of years ago. James, if you can take us back to that time and remind us just how bad things were during those darkest days.
Yeah, it's something I'll never forget, and I know we've had success since. But I think it keeps you humble to know what situation we really were in, and just as like an analogy, I said at the time, if you were to do a Netflix documentary, obviously they're really popular now. If you were to do a Netflix documentary of it happening, I don't think people would believe that it was as real as that. I think people are going, that's far-fetched. They've
Oh yeah,
embellished that. You know what I mean? It really was difficult. And I have the immense amount of respect for Lee Turnbull and Phil Hoff, our secretary. Lee's not with us anymore, but Phil still works at the club. And then Jake, who was 15 at the time, like he wasn't employed, but he's a volunteer and saw it all happen. But for the three guys, including myself, that were full time, the only full time employees left at the club, we had to put on a front for the supporters, and don't get me wrong, the fans knew that something was amiss, but we had to, walk into work, chest out, smile on our face every day, and just carry on and try and drag the club through what it was going through. We kind of said it was like standing proud at the front of the front line, whereas behind it's all crumbling and falling apart behind you. It was difficult, but these things make you stronger. The lads didn't get paid for some of us 2 months, some of us a bit longer. We thought we were losing the stadium. We thought we were going to have to play at Gainsborough. I thought I was going to work from home, which don't work in the football environment. It doesn't. You've got to be in and amongst it. You've got to be with the
Yeah,
players. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And ultimately, we thought we were going to lose our jobs. And I say, I've done it this long. What else am I going to do? And realistically, if you think about it, yes, I would have gone and got another job. How easy, I don't know. But when this is your club and this is all you know for half your life, it's very difficult to think about what else you would do. And yeah, I could go get a job and be on similar money and probably not have any stresses, work 9 to 5 and go home at 5 o'clock and not care in the world. But, you know, I care immensely about this and I'll go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning when I think I'm done and can't give any more for the day. So
yeah,
it's just what it is. It's a special place, but I don't think you truly understand it until you're in it.
yeah. As you look back, what was the root cause of a club getting into into trouble in the first place?
It was a slippery slope, really. We enjoyed, and I do say enjoy, and I know a lot of our fans will go back and go about previous owners Peter Swan and people have ill thoughts of him. I don't. I worked for him for 10 years. He paid me every month for 10 years, apart from the very last month, and he was upfront and honest, and sat everyone down, says I'm looking to sell the club, don't have anything left to go at it, and as things stand, can't pay the payroll, and that's just facts. He was upfront and honest, and it's not nice, but
Yeah,
respected him for that because he could have just disappeared. And he put an immense amount of money into this football club and chased a dream that very, very nearly happened, but didn't. And from then, we slippery slope. We had probably a toxic group of players, great players individually, great guys, but it just didn't, it wasn't cohesive. The rumblings probably behind the scenes didn't help, and we ended up losing our football league status and then getting relegated straight away from the National League into National North was a disaster. And I said it loads of times. We felt like we hit rock bottom, and then there was a little bit more digging to do. You'd find the
yeah,
next level down. You'd just find it, and then with the greatest respects, the less I said about the next regime, the better, because that 9 months was truly difficult, a mental strain, and yeah, it was touch and go whether we existed. So the fact that Michelle stepped forward and took on the club was, you could have walked in and cried because we were that close to not being here. Literally, probably 12 hours. I left on the Tuesday at 5 o'clock thinking I'd never step foot in this building again, and then 9 a.m. the next morning, it's celebrations. Really, it's
yeah,
yeah, which nearly didn't happen. Another a parallel universe. We've lost the club. Simple
yeah.
as
Well, take us back to those 24 hours as much as you can, James. What can you remember the first time that you realised that Michelle and the rest of the team were, there was a possibility that this was going to be a way out of this situation. Can you kind of remember how you heard that and how it kind of progressed over those 24 hours?
Yeah, I remember speaking to Michelle and saying it's very hard when it's not your money, isn't it? It's very
Yeah,
hard when you aren't the wealthy one, but it's like we're losing it. It's going, and to see the whites of the eyes and go, we're done. it feels like we're done. What more can we do? And Michelle was a director for the previous owner. Rog was a director for the previous owner. And then obviously behind the scenes there was conversations happening and trying to negotiate. He wanted out, so that helped in a way. But then trying to find the way to get the shares and the funds to get the shares, etc. Difficult. And 11th hour they managed to do it. And I think many people told him with your level of debt, you're talking nearly £2 million of debt. Don't do it,
Yeah,
liquidate it, start again. You'll get promoted the first 4 years and you'll be back there somewhat soon, but not as quickly as you save the club. But I remember Michelle saying, well, I'll give it a go for a couple of weeks, for a month or so, and if I have to go out on the pitch in front of the fans and say I tried and I failed, but at least I tried, then that's what I'll do. And we were going day by day, week by week, month by month. I don't think we could go month by month for the first 2 years, but literally, CCJ here, Bill there, bailiff here. You know what I mean? Just trying to shift it and relying on a lot of help from elsewhere and suddenly you can start crawling again and standing up again and learning to walk again. And we're 2.5 years down the line and we're still not there.
yeah,
That historic debt is still there while creating not new debt, but just general operations and things like
yeah,
that. They deserve an immense amount of respect and credit for what they did because I don't think anyone else was going to do it. I
yeah,
don't think so at all.
yeah. I mean, having experienced, these lows as a fan as well as an employee of a club, is that somehow making what we're going through right now, how good things are right now, is that all the sweeter because of that, James?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you, you get promoted via the playoff final in front of your own fans, in front of a record crowd, and you just look around and go, this is what we've been put through the absolute mill for. Um, and a season of hard work culminates in what the lads do out on the pitch, and it's satisfying when it comes off. But it was just all the more like we deserve this after what's happened.
Yeah,
And sometimes you go, yeah, we win a game, we don't deserve it, but it was probably one of the truest times where you go, this club deserves that moment. And I'll never forget it. The Chester manager and the general manager came up to me on the pitch. So they watched us lift the trophy, which was devastating for them, 100%.
yeah,
And he said, the manager, Cal Mack, he said, you, as in me, deserve this probably more than anybody. You and Michelle deserve this probably more than anybody. You've put on two fantastic events for our players and our fans here this season. Go and enjoy it. We'll be back. I mean, they are struggling this season, but you know what I mean. In that
yeah,
moment when they're at their lowest, to come and
yeah,
go, this is your day and you
yeah,
deserve it. It just makes you think, yeah, that's why you do it. And
yeah,
selfishly, yeah, we do deserve it. After
yeah,
what we've been through.
yeah. Well, I think, I can join the rest of the football community and just say, what a great pleasure it is in seeing Scunthorpe United, saved. I mean, the fans alone, the passion within the supporter base, and that's one of the incredible things about the Scunthorpe United, isn't it? Is the fan base, and kind of on that theme, James. I know you've been, passionate about fan engagement. What initiatives have you put in place to encourage, that fan engagement and continue growing the match day attendance?
Yeah, I started this probably right back at the start in wanting to go. I've been involved, as I said before, in grassroots football for longer than I've been involved in the football club, which is bonkers, really. But I didn't see enough kids in here. I saw an aging fan base and a fan base that was my age, but my age at the time was then going off to university, and you probably don't see them for 4 or 5 years. Then they get a partner, then they have kids, and you might not see them for a decade. And I was like, with the aging fan base we've got in certain areas and that gap, I struggle to see where our attendances are going to be in 5, 10 years at the time. I said we need to engage with local football, and that's where Grassroots Day came from. I would do every game. I'd do flag bearers on the pitch as you come out, and I'd do a pre-match tour for them and stuff like that. And I never charged for that. It was just my way of getting people in. It's an extra 50 bodies in the obviously they paid for the tickets, but not for the tour and the experience. And then grassroots day, I moved the away fans into the corner and filled the away end with 1,100 grassroots kids and parents and coaches and just celebrate, put a ticket and offer on and celebrated that. And it's built and built and built to where we got last year um, in March against Chester as well in the league fixture. It was my 30th birthday, so it was a culmination of so much like, lads, you've got to win because otherwise I'm gonna have a really crappy birthday. Um, and it's a community day, so it's not just grassroots teams, it's scouts, it's guides, it's tickets for troops, it's tickets for good, it's charity, it's everything that's good about Scunthorpe as a community coming together for that day. And hopefully my aim was always you get a massive boost on that day, but then you get a decent percentage that comes back. And I've always experienced like flag bearer families to go, oh, we loved it, we'll be back next week, or
Yeah,
and then
so
pay
good.
full price, or we loved it, we're getting season tickets as a family, and then you've got five, six, seven more people in the stadium. And you look at when we started this, and I know coincided with bad results and not winning very much for 5 years, but our average attendance at home was the early 3,000s, and now we're in fours. And Saturday we got 5,200, and you just think selfishly, none of this would have happened unless you start it somewhere.
Yeah,
And yeah, there's a lot of people involved, and massive credit to everybody that gets behind it, and the fans themselves for getting behind it. But it's got to start somewhere, you know, data shows you that that's how it started. And I've got an immense amount of pride for where we're at the minute. And
yeah,
you know, I think there's 80,000 people in Scunthorpe that live in Scunthorpe, and for that percentage, 5,000 people to be here is well above most towns and cities, because I think you're normally aiming for 2.5, 3% of your population, and we're well above that.
yeah. It's incredible. So good. And James, we touched on it earlier on. As things stand right now, the club has a real chance of being in a mix for promotion back to the EFL. What's the financial difference between competing in the National League and League Two?
Um, It's massive, apparently, since we've left League Two. It's a massive difference. And I know we were chucking money at it at one point, but yeah, it's another scale. But just to give you a picture at the National League level, you don't get the EFL funding that you do when
Yeah,
you're in it. We're very much competing on a smaller budget, by the way, that we had than we had last season in Step Two. So we reduced our budget and doing incredible things.
yeah,
But to get to the EFL, we are then in a position where we are much more sustainable automatically. And yes, we'll then look at academy and probably spend it, but wisely. But it solves a lot of problems just by being there. It gives you that leg up that a club of our size needs. The
yeah,
fan base deserves EFL football.
yeah.
The owners definitely deserve EFL football. I'd like to think I deserve EFL football, but we are where we are for a reason, and that's deserved. But now we've got a massive opportunity to get back.
Yeah, and there are of course two ways of getting up. That's either via automatic or via the playoffs. Financially, what's the better option? Is it going up straight away or going up via the playoffs?
If you were to guarantee promotion, it's the playoffs. Obviously, you get the
Right.
ticket in
Yeah.
money. You get the ticket in money. So, we hosted the semi-final and the final here, and don't get me wrong, once all costs of officials and stewarding and policing, etc., are taken out, you do split the gate with the opposition. So you do lose half of it, or
Yeah.
more than half of it, because the other percentage goes to paying the bills for the day. But without them games, it's income you're not having anyway. So if you're to guarantee promotion, playoffs is financially better. But everyone loves winning the league, don't they? Although
Yeah.
everyone does love winning a playoff final. But I tell you what, in the 100 and whatever minute in May, I was not enjoying
Yeah.
it.
No, that's right. I said that there are only two ways of going up. Actually, there's a big campaign on at the moment, isn't there, about the free up campaign. I think it's probably quite clear for anyone listening where you'd probably stand on this, James. And of course, depending on what division you're in, you're going to have a different outlook. But what's kind of your thoughts between about behind the whole campaign as a whole?
Yeah, I've talked to a few people about this, and I give it a very objective thought. If I take myself out of being involved in Scunny, if you're the team that finished 22nd in League Two, you deserve to go down.
Yeah,
Whether that's us or not, and you would never want to be the first team to do it because it's horrible.
yeah,
But if you finish in 22nd, you deserve to go down. Equally, if you finish in second, especially with 100 points like York, you deserve to go up. People put a lot of time and effort into the season, a lot of money into the season. You look at teams like York, like Carlisle, like Rochdale, they've got far and away bigger budgets than we have. But fundamentally, they put in X amount of million a year to finish second and not go up.
yeah,
Not go up to a team. Don't get me wrong, they've earned it. Team that finished 20 plus points behind them. There's something wrong in the Football League system for that.
yeah,
And yeah, like I said, I would never want to be that team that finished 22nd. But if you do, can you dress it down and go, well, we actually deserve to go down? Um, and it just gives a better opportunity for teams like ours. Are we going to win the league? I don't know. We'll give it a good go. I mean, you look at the recent results and we'll give it a good go. We've beaten York away, we've beaten Southend away, we've beaten Boreham Wood away, we've beat Forest Green at home. The only team we haven't got any points off, or two teams, Rochdale because we haven't played them yet, and Carlisle we lost at home. One of three games we've lost this season. So we'll give it a good go, but realistically, probably not.
yeah,
But if you took that second place out of the way as well, that's the two strongest teams gone. The playoffs is then very realistic. And I fancy us against any team on our
yeah.
day in this league, but it makes it very realistic and level playing field and all that. So I can't see why it can't come in. It just has to for me.
Yeah. No, definitely. James, you've been in your new role for 3 months. I can imagine in some ways that's probably gone very quickly. And in other ways, it must feel like 10 years with the amount of work you've done. What are your short and long term plans to help grow the club over the next 12 months and then over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think in my roles that I've had, I've always wanted to grow the club, and I think I've shown that I have in ways with what I've done. And I think being the so-called leader of the non-football now, the onus is on me to deliver probably more and quicker, is what I'd say. So probably not any different to what I was doing, but just do it and do it quicker. I'd love to do all sorts. I'd love to have a fan zone outside. I'd love to coincide everything with our return to the Football League. But, I think what our fans do understand is, the finances still are tight, and to spend X amount on something, yes, it is speculate to accumulate 100%, but it's still hard to just make that initial spend at the minute.
Yeah,
I'd love to give fans a pride in what they do. Obviously, I'll say it outright, our pitch is absolutely shocking this season. It is shocking. It's horrendous. It's not been great. And I have massive sympathy for Johnny, who's out there every day doing it because he's not at fault. He does his best to prepare it, and it's just circumstance and it's not got the right things in there, and it won't be rectified until next season. I've made that quite clear. But we've got to get it right next season. That's my short-term plan. We've got to get that right next season. We've got to get the kit right next season. We've had some issues, we've had some rips, we've had delivery issues. I've been part of the club 14 years, and has it ever been delivered on time? Probably once, and that's not good enough. So from my perspective, we have to get the kit delivered on time, fundamentals, and then the long-term plans is, like you say, grow the club. Fan zone. The volunteers around here do an immense job, and the stadium looks incredible. Better than it has done the whole time I've supported the club. But what can we do? Can we upgrade? Can we put money aside to we get funding? Can we make things better? Can we shift out the floodlights that we've got, which are 40 years old, and put LEDs in, which, yes, it's an outlay at the start, but then you reap the rewards later on, bigger projects like that. Obviously the sad news of that player that died having hit the wall. We've got
really big.
concrete walls
Yeah,
around the stadium. Can we look to phase these out? We're well within regulation, by the way, but that doesn't mean not be proactive and try and phase them out. Can we get electronic advertising boards instead, which is a bigger income? Again, a massive outlay, but eventually your turnover increases. So these are all things we think about. And I could put probably 500 ideas to you, and in 6 months' time you go, well, you haven't done any of them. But believe me, we're bubbling them away. And I say this
Yeah,
all the time downstairs. We have to pick something and focus on it and
yeah,
prioritize it. Otherwise, you can do
yeah,
think about 500 things and not achieve
yeah.
anything. But if
It
you
will help.
go, right, we're doing this and this is the time scale, we're doing this and this is the time scale, and then do it, deliver it.
Yeah,
No point sitting
yeah,
here and talking all day about it. Just
yeah,
go deliver it.
yeah. No, absolutely. If what we're hoping for does happen and we do go up, is the club as it stands right now EFL ready, or is there anything that would have to happen for us to be able to be allowed into the EFL?
And there's things to do. And I think the easiest way to say it is when you're a member of the EFL, like we were for 72 years, you don't have to change anything. Um, you're in there, and they change the regulations season by season. Because
Right.
we've not been an EFL member, we now have to adhere to everything that they currently want, which is difficult. So referees' change room isn't big enough. The changing rooms for the home and away teams have got to have daft things like TVs and HDMI leads and whiteboards and everything in there now that you used to make the away dressing room the most uncomfortable, dark,
Yeah.
dingy room with a black ball with no chalk and all that. You can't do it anymore. You've got to have the right amount of showers, the right amount of toilets, a TV for the tactical analysis. You've got to roll out the red carpet for them, which I can't believe, but the application for the Football League has to go in, it has to be in November, and you've got to do it if you're intending to go up. Immense amount of work by our safety officer, Martin, Secretary Phil, and Julie, our stadium maintenance. And we're doing bits and pieces. And realistically, some of the bigger bits we don't have to do until we actually, fingers crossed, get promoted. And you've got a dispensation and time. But we've got to do a lot of the stuff now, and we're completing it bit by bit. The ground we've passed regulation to be at this level because, of course, going down to step two meant we then had to adhere to the National League's new regulations, which was difficult, but done all that. And we're in a good position to do it even when, plans are in place. We've been in the EFL before, so we know what we're coming into.
Yeah.
And the staff, most of us have worked in the EFL, so
Yeah.
fingers crossed we'll be all right.
Yeah. James, out of all of the things that you've achieved at the club so far, when you sort of sit back and evaluate it, what are you most proud of?
Um, I think there's a few legacy things that I can probably look back in 30 years' time, hopefully when I've retired early, because that's my plan. And think I've left my mark. And that'd be, creating a new record attendance at this place three times. That's an immense amount of work and immense amount of pride that we can hopefully go away with these records. You remember the good days like the promotion final. Delivering the 125th anniversary season was a massive one for me. The board, who had just come into the club, had placed an immense amount of trust. I said, "We've had some issues with kit. Would you mind if I just went away, did all three kits, changed the badge, obviously consulted with the fans, and deliver a 125-year anniversary to be proud of?" So hopefully it coincides with promotion at the end of it, but I can't do everything. They'll have to do that. I can do the rest, and they did. The board didn't see the shirts until they arrived, which is bonkers when you think back because they didn't know what was coming. They just placed the full trust in me to go deliver it. We sold 5,000, over 5,000 shirts. Could have sold more probably if we'd have ordered more, but it was incredible. And I'll have always have immense amount of pride in that season and what I personally delivered and what the team delivered as well, because, fundamentally once we've all finished and gone and left the club and passed away long in the future, hopefully, we all want a legacy here to go down in history, and that is that the fact that we're here, but
Yeah.
also selfishly, you want your own personal legacies, and I'd like to think that I've done a little bit of that so far. But obviously, I'm 30. I'm now the general manager, and hopefully, there's more in the future as well.
Yeah. With James, commercially, you guys at Scunthorpe United are brilliant to work with. And of course, from the club has really enjoyed being in partnership with you guys over the last two seasons. For any business owners watching who may want to work with you guys in the future, what do you look for in a partner and what would be a perfect match for you?
For me personally, if I'm talking as myself, and I'm sure the other guys will echo this, is I want people to work with us that A, want to work with us, B, can see our vision, and C can understand that while we want to, of course, we want to take a sponsorship deal, we want to bring in the revenue, we always look to see what we can give back, but also what we can do together as a not a non-commercial entity, really. Like, what can we do in partnership to make the area better, to make the community better, or leave that legacy as a partnership. So I've been talking to a few people today that haven't worked with the club for a while due to the turmoil and not wanting to work with certain people. But we've got good people at the club, and I want people to think that if they're a partner of this club, they're part of its success, and they can come down and have a cup of coffee and walk out to the pitch and go, what's going on with the pitch? Why is it like that?
Yeah,
I know XYZ that can come in and have a look at it, make it better. Do you need any help with this XYZ? Can we help your business or your program with anything to make it better? So it's not just about ringing someone up and say, do you fancy sponsoring this for 5 grand plus VAT? Is what you'll get. It's more than that. It's about the overall partnership.
yeah,
And you talk about from the club, and you guys came to us at a time when we were probably desperate to bring in revenue. You pitched us an idea, and it's been fantastic for us, but it's been fantastic because you've provided stuff to our supporters that are mementos and people things that people can keep, particularly from our promotion campaign. I mean, I've got
oh, yeah,
the print that you did there, two of the prints that you did there on my wall here. So
yeah,
you just have to. It's worked for you as a business. It's worked for us as a club, and that's what we're looking for, really. If it
yeah.
works for everybody, then fantastic.
Yeah, no, brilliant, James. Appreciate that. James, for anybody who's listening to you and wants to get into football themselves, what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start out?
You've got to have a thick skin, in no uncertain terms. Um, if you feel like you can do it, then go for it because it is the most one of the most rewarding things you can do. But you have to take the highs and lows as they come. And football does work in cycles. I think we've had the extreme of the lows, and I'd like to think that not many people have to go through that, but you do have to go
Yeah,
through relegations and losing games and attendances dropping and then having to plug the gaps in terms of revenue. But when you sit down, I sit down and think on the darkest days when you don't know really where the light is at the end of the tunnel, there always will be in this sport, and you have to work hard for it, and you have to do probably more than you're expected to do. I mean, I'll be open and honest. I don't work the 40 hours a week on my contract, and I don't think anyone in football really does. Probably double it, and add 10. Um, I
yeah,
I sit at home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning doing bits and pieces. I was sat doing a spreadsheet at 2:30 this morning and realized what the time was and thought, I better go to bed because I need to be in this morning to meet the guys that are coming to install some
yeah,
shelf edge labels in our shop. But it's things like that. If you're willing to dedicate your life to it, and that is the truth,
yeah,
I'll be open and honest. I put football first, and I know people say put family first, but during that spell when I wanted to make sure the club was here, football did come first for a couple of months because I've said it on another podcast. I couldn't have lived with myself if I'd have jumped ship. Great respect for anyone that did because they've got families, mortgages, etc. I've got a mortgage myself. I couldn't have lived with myself if I'd have gone somewhere else and the club had died. I'd have always gone, what if I stayed and it didn't? So at least if it had gone, I went with it. And I known that I'd done everything possible. So it's sacrifice and and that's what it is. And there are a lot of people out there that think they want to work in it, and they probably do, but you'll find out when you're in it whether you can.
yeah, yeah. You're known as Mr. Scunthorpe, and you're of course well respected throughout the whole of football. Can you ever see a point in the future where you might end up leaving the club?
No, that's a blunt answer. No, unless I'm pushed out, binned off. I mean, look at I'm a general manager now, and I'm in the position where if a owner or a board member thinks it's not working or they want fresh ideas, I'm now in a role where I am shot at, and
Yeah,
I've survived. I say survived. I've been part of 4 ownerships, and I've not been got rid of yet. Um, So I like to think that they've all seen that I'm worthy of being here. But there may come a time in the future when we're an owner or two down the line. You never know what football brings, where they think, well, I want to bring my own GM, I want to bring in my own CEO, and they either ask me to drop down to a head of media again, or they say, thank you very much, thanks for your service and goodbye. But my personal choice, I don't think I'd be anywhere else. I've had offers in the past from bigger clubs. I'd say bigger and better clubs, but in my mind, there's no better club than this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you say money talks, but I've been offered bigger than this, that what I've got, and I've declined it. There's a price on money, obviously, and there's a price on being where you want to be and loving it and being passionate about what you do. And I value that way more than the salary that comes in at the end of the month. Obviously, it's nice, helps me go on holidays, it helps me pay the mortgages. People that know me know that I like to do extreme day trips and go abroad about 6 or 7 times a year on quick breaks and go to football grounds across the world and stuff like that. But fundamentally, as long as I can get by on what I'm on, I'm absolutely buzzing to be here still.
Ah, top man. That's why you're a Scunthorpe legend, mate. That is brilliant.
Some may disagree, but
James, I don't know where you find the time from because of how busy you are, but you do manage to find some time to be able to fit some interesting hobbies into your life. Tell us what you get up to in outside of work.
yeah, it's a lot of what I get up to outside of work is still football. Like I said, live, breathe, wake up, go to sleep, football. I'm a semi-professional referee, so I operate as a level 4 for people that know the levels. Level 4 specialist assistant referee at the minute. That was my choice due to not getting the level of games I thought as a referee. But I've got to be humble, and I work every Saturday, so I know that getting
Yeah,
midweek games is very difficult at the level that I operate at. 3W as well, which is the women's pathway, which you've got WSL Super League, you've got WSL 2, the championship. I operate on the tier below that. And then the fourth tier as well, which is really good. Get to go up and down the country, go to some new places, referee some big games. If you get, I've done Newcastle United, Burnley, Stoke, them kind of teams that you resonate as big teams in the men's pathway, the big teams in the women's pathway as well. Really enjoyable. Refereed in front of 4,000 people. Newcastle United, incredible support, which is an unbelievable experience. I love that. But I'd equally love going out on a Sunday morning like I did yesterday and do a Sunday league game and just, enjoy the crack. Also well into grassroots football, as I've said, I work for the Lincolnshire FA as well. So people say, how on earth do you have more than one job, but as a GM at a football club? But I do. I look after new referees, get mentors for them, and make sure they're on the right pathway to make sure that retention of referees and the recruitment and the promotion is still there. Following my footsteps, hopefully, and go further. I've mentored people from the start that are now further on than I am, and we're on the way to the Football League, which is incredible to look at. Wish it was me sometimes, but I have to be here. Yeah, do a lot with that. And I'm also a referee, fixture, and registration secretary for some local leagues as well. So I appoint referees, generate the fixtures, and look after one of our Step 10 local Lincolnshire league as well. So yeah, I really do just sit there and do football all day.
yeah. Has your work as a referee made you more sympathetic when Scunthorpe get a dodgy decision?
Yes and no. I think yes, sympathetic when they get it wrong. I mean, we had a handball on the line the other week that wasn't given to us. I'm more sympathetic that we still won the game, obviously.
Yeah,
But at the time, I can understand why it's not given because his line of sight was blocked. You can't guess. It doesn't matter that 4,000 people are shouting handball. You haven't seen it as that one, and you're the most important person. So sympathetic, yes. Sometimes go, how on earth haven't they seen that? Or how have they given that? I've got a good relationship with a lot of referees. I've got a not so good relationship with some referees. That's the nature of everything in life. But I've an immense amount of respect for anyone that goes out there because you're alone. It's a
yeah,
lonely place. No one likes you, and no one cares that you get it wrong. Everyone puts your arm around the striker that misses a penalty, but don't put their arm around a referee that messes up. And believe me, I've seen a fair share of bad decisions, and I always go in and thank the referees for the game. sometimes ask questions, and some games have cost us, and you can visibly see the distraught. I've had one in
Yeah,
absolute tears, apologise and say we've ruined your season, we've stopped you from being able to win the league. And fundamentally, I always say one game does not stop you from winning the league. It's 46 games. If we have 10 more chances and score three more goals, we win the game. You make a mistake, it don't matter. So
yeah,
I'm objective like that. And yeah, sometimes they do cost us games, but we can always do better.
yeah. Talking of those 4,000 people screaming, fans are often described as the 12th man, aren't they? As somebody who's been there, do the fans actually influence a referee? Can you actually be swayed by the fans?
I'll go to one example, and I won't name the referee or the game, but I was behind a goal once, putting a GoPro camera out, and it was about 2 minutes into the game, and the ball comes into the box, hits someone square on the chest. The whole Britcon stand screams handball audaciously. The referee goes, "Thank you very much. That's a penalty." Never hit his hand in a million years. So does it? Probably. Yeah. You get the decisions. Do you get more decisions at home than you do away? Yes, although I do think that's phasing out of the game. I do think referees are a lot more astute nowadays than they used to be. But the general atmosphere, particularly our fans being so close to the pitch, they get you your 1%. They get the 1% from the players, and you might get the 1% from the referee. You might get 1% less from the opposition players as well. So it all helps.
Yeah, 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 definitely. So the message to the Scunny fans is keep on being loud and proud.
Yeah, Gaffer says this all the time. If you are positive in your noise, it's effective. If you are negative in your noise, then it has a detrimental effect.
Yeah,
So you
so
could be
true.
losing 1-0. We went 1-0 down on Saturday, but
Yeah,
the fans are incredible, and it helps you.
yeah,
It massively
yeah,
helps you.
yeah. You mentioned that one of your roles at the FA is mentoring new referees. What does that pathway look like for new match day officials, and what's the best way for somebody to get started?
Yeah, it's really easy to get started. Just speak to your county FA, and your process is there. You're a trainee referee, and then you go level 7, 6, 5, 4. You can go as quickly as you want. The process to get promoted is quicker than when I did it. I always deem myself as doing it the proper way, the way you should do it. Make your mistakes on a Sunday morning in front of people
Yeah,
that are half cut from the previous day and don't really care. They'll scream and shout at you for 90 minutes, but then go and have a
yeah,
pint with you after the game. The best kind of football when you boil it down. But what I've found in the last few years is people are getting fast tracked so much. They're making the mistakes in games that matter, which we've had to rein in a little bit. Fundamentally, if you have paying spectators, you have to earn a right to be on the game, and that's at step 7. That's at step 3. That if you're charging spectators, spectators are paying your wages. The clubs are paying your wages, but the spectators are paying your wages. You've got to be good for the level. Obviously, there are levels, and you've always got to think something to learn. But now it's easier to get higher quicker, and that's good for the young lads. I see 18-year-olds at my level, whereas I wouldn't have been able to be 22 before I'm at my level
yeah,
I say back
yeah,
in the day, it makes me sound old, but back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
So there are opportunities, and if you want to get there and want to sacrifice again, you can get there.
yeah,
One of my friends is played football all his life, came out, he's 45, and he's just got to level 3, which is lining on step 2. Like unbelievable. If you're never too old,
yeah.
if you're fit enough and willing to put in the hard work, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Nah, great stuff. James, you mentioned earlier on one of the things that you enjoyed doing is visiting other football clubs. Which clubs have particularly impressed you with their welcome, hospitality, or commercial offering?
That's a good question. I love going everywhere, whether it's a so-called dump, for the want of a better phrase, or the stadiums such as Wembley, Emirates, the brilliant stadiums, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, absolutely incredible. But I just as much as enjoy going to the other end of the spectrum as I do the top end. You see real people at the lower end of the spectrum, the volunteers, old Doris that's been a tea lady for 40 years that looks after but cares,
Yeah,
and not the corporate end. But the corporate end's nice. I've done that. I've done Wembley, Bobby Moore Suite. I've done the nice stuff, and I've done ragged in a corner and you couldn't care less about your stuff. And believe me, the nicest ones are the ones that truly care about their club and the volunteers that are in grassroots and non-league football that really want to be there and aren't waiting for a paycheck because it's never going to come because they're volunteers. Uh, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, Huddersfield Town are fantastic. I go on referee tickets sometimes, being a referee myself and having a lot of mates in the league. I've been to Huddersfield Town a few times, and sometimes as a referee's guest, you can be a bit mud to them. But at Huddersfield, you get meal before the game, you get director's box seating, etc. So that's really nice. Always remember that. There's a few clubs that put you in amongst their rowdy fans and pretty much put an arrow on your head going, I'm a referee guest, and then you get a bit of abuse. But there's obviously been bad experiences along the way, but I've been to some 250 odd grounds in various places. Um, and it's a ground tick. Sometimes I go, that's a ground tick, and I will never be coming here again. But fundamentally, it's a ground tick. And I always think for every club you visit, it's someone's home. It is
Yeah,
someone's home, and we are visitors in their home. And as much as you might not think it's the most glamorous place in the world, they have an utmost respect for you as a visitor, have some respect for their home.
yeah. No, incredible. James, I'm going to have to let you go because of how busy you are, but I can't let you go before asking you a couple of memorabilia related questions.
Yep.
James, have you ever asked anyone for their autograph before?
Yes, I still do. I mean, my dad's a serial football collector. He's got everything Scunny. So he gives me a brand new autograph book at the start of every season and says, "Don't let any of our players leave the door without signing this autograph book," which is incredible. GM of a football club going around asking for autographs of the people he calls friends. It's nice. It keeps you grounded. I've got loads of memorabilia. But yeah, I wouldn't hesitate. I'd tell you what I'd rather do nowadays instead of getting an autograph is get a photo. A
Yeah,
photo means much more to me than an autograph. Autograph people sell and wheeler dealer whatever. When they play a famous person dies, it's worth more because they can never sign again. But a photo means so much more. It's a memory. It'll always be there.
yeah. What are your most special pieces of memorabilia that you've got in your collection?
Um, wow, I've got a lot. I like that shirt. I know it's blurred, but I like that shirt that I made
Yeah,
with all three shirts from 125th anniversary. That obviously I said earlier, it means a massive amount to me of what I did during the season. I'll unblur it so you can see it a little bit more on
yeah,
camera.
it's amazing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that means a lot. I've got what I started doing, particularly during COVID, was asking players who played for us, but then went on to other things to get their shirts for me at their new club.
right.
So
Yeah,
I've got Ryan Yates's Nottingham Forest shirt during COVID with the thank you NHS on it. Loads of other players, Josh Morris, Dwayne Holmes. I could list them forever, but players that I've had a proper connection to, I've asked for shirts. And it sounds cheeky because I hate people asking for shirts because they're for sponsors ultimately and commercially minded. I know what that means and devalues and stuff, but I always say to them, if you get fined or you have to replace it, I'll always pay for it. It's just something
yeah,
for me to look back on probably later down the line and go, I worked with Josh Morris and here's his shirt when he left Scunny and went to Salford and stuff like that. So it's nice.
yeah. No, so good. If you could add one final piece of memorabilia to your collection, who would it be, and what would it be?
Oh wow. Um, that is a tough question. I am appreciative of anything that's given to me, and I tell you now, I was very appreciative when Michelle got everybody a promotion winning medal when they got promoted. So not the players got presented them on the day,
Yeah,
and then obviously the club have an opportunity to purchase more. And Michelle bought one for every single member of full-time staff,
wow.
which I thought was incredible and just kind of rounded it off.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'd love to take the promotion final trophy home and keep it forever, but that's going back to the National League soon and then the next winners. But I'd love to have something like that in my house just to look at it on a mantelpiece and go, yes, as a group we achieved that. So I'll probably go for something like that.
Yeah, James, this has been so much fun. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy, your busy schedule. Before we let you go, let everyone know where to follow you on social media.
Yeah, really easy for me. Every single thing is at James Iron 95. So James the first name, Iron Scunny nickname, and 95 is 1995 for the year of my birth. So nice and easy. I'm on everything. And I'm always a DM away. So if anyone is in football and wants to connect or has an idea or wants to become a commercial partner, everything was spoken about in the podcast, basically.
Yeah,
I'm all ears. Open for a cup of tea. Everyone can come down. As much as I am busy, like you say, I have immense amount of time for people, and if that means that I'm still here at 7 o'clock at night, so be it.
amazing. Well, I'm going to make sure that I dig out all of those links and they'll be in the description of this YouTube video. So, James, thanks again for your time. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
No, absolute pleasure. It's been really nice to reminisce.